Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right at work, but somehow it's still not enough to move up? The truth is, effort is only part of the equation. What matters far more is shifting into a leadership mindset. And if you don't shift it, you'll keep getting passed over for promotions, no matter how good you are at your job. I've seen so many capable professionals of all levels hit this exact wall. And once they started shifting their mindset from an employee to thinking like a CEO, then they began getting more visibility, which advanced their careers. In this video, I'll walk you through the 6 signs you're still thinking like an employee, no matter what seat you're currently in, and how to upgrade it into the mindset leaders actually look for so that you can move into the seat that you want. Hey, colleagues, and welcome back to another YouTube Team Huddle, where we unpack the mysteries of work, expose what really goes on behind closed doors, and give you the tools to build the career you actually want. So, pull up a chair into my office and let's get into it. Sign number one. The first sign is one of the clearest signals of whether someone's ready to move up or stay stuck, and it is a counterintuitive one, which is why so many people remain in their current seat at work, and it's following instructions to the letter and thinking that's a good thing. Now, on the surface, following instructions sounds reasonable. It sounds like you're being a reliable team player, that you're being a good employee because you're handling all your tasks. But the reason completing your task as you're told will stall your career is because leadership value autonomy. And here's the thing, when all you do is follow instructions, it signals dependency, which means you need managing. And the more you need managing, the less promotable you are. Now, to be clear, being autonomous doesn't mean you ignore your boss or go off script. It means you start thinking ahead, anticipating roadblocks and spotting opportunities, and bringing clear solutions before your manager ever even asks. That's what leadership notices. They don't promote the most obedient, they do promote the most autonomous. So don't wait for tasks. Start making decisions, start taking the lead, and start pursuing a career trajectory with intent. But here's the trap. Once people start working more independently, they often fall into a different habit that's even more damaging to their career, which brings us on to the next signal. Signal number two. A subtle but significant barrier to career progression is the tendency to equate productivity with progress, to believe that simply completing tasks is synonymous with adding value. You hear it in the very self assured update, I finished that report. But leadership evaluates work differently. Completing a task is not, in of itself, an indicator of strategic contribution. Many professionals operate under the assumption that activity equals impact. But this mindset often results in being seen as a reliable team player rather than a valuable contributor to the business. You see, leaders don't ask, was the report done? They ask, did this move the needle? In other words, leadership is focused on outcomes and not outputs. If your work isn't clearly tied to solving a business problem, informing a decision, or advancing a priority, then no matter how well executed it is, it risks being invisible at a leadership level. The shift required here is from task oriented execution to impact oriented contribution. To signal you're ready for advancement, start proactively linking your work to business goals. Frame your update in terms of value. Always be on the lookout for opportunities to inform others what decision your work supported, what problem it helped solve, and what changed as a result of this work. This reframing shows that you don't just do the work, you understand why it matters. Signal number three. So now let's talk about the real reason leaders are choosing your colleagues over you. And to do that, let me ask you a question. Have you ever walked into a pitch black room with all the lights off and just stood there, hoping that someone is going to come along and turn on the light? No, of course not, because if you're the one in the dark, then you're the one who turns on the light switch. But that's exactly how a lot of people treat their careers. They sit quietly doing the work, hoping someone else will notice and reward them for it. They wait for their manager to turn the light on, to say, hey, you're doing such a great job, let's just promote you. But here's the truth, no one's coming to ever flip that light switch on for you. Meanwhile, your colleagues who might be doing less work than you are getting all the promotions because they figured out one thing that you haven't, and that is that visibility drives opportunity. And here's what's wild: studies have shown that visibility and not performance is the strongest predictor of a promotion. And yes, self promotion can feel a little cringe and awkward, but the solution isn't silence. The signal that you're ready for promotion is avoiding self promotion because you don't want to shout about your achievements. Instead, you need to shift how you think about visibility. And to be clear, it's not about bragging, it's about making sure the right people know what you're doing and why it matters. Because if no one knows, then it doesn't count. Signal number 4. So now you know it's not just about being valuable, people need to know that you're valuable. But here's the next signal that you're not ready for promotion: relying on your manager to drive your career. Which brings us to the question, well, shouldn't you be doing that? And well, the answer is no, because waiting for your manager to drive your career is like sitting in a packed restaurant and expecting the waiter to read your mind. The waiter is sprinting around, he's got 2 dozen tables, drinks to refill, plates to carry, a Karen on table 12 complaining about the soup, and you're over here quietly waiting for him to notice that you need, I don't know, more ketchup or maybe a career defining opportunity. You might get his attention eventually, but odds are you'll just sit there hungry while someone louder gets served first. So if you're waiting for them to come over and hand you a promotion, then you're going to be waiting a while. This means you need to stop being managed and start managing upwards. And that means you don't wait for recognition, you build sponsors. You don't assume someone's watching, you make sure that they are. Because the people who move up fastest, they don't just do the work, they make sure that the right people see them doing that work. Signal number 5. If you've ever seen an internal announcer in email that someone was just promoted with no internal position advertised, seemingly no process, and wondered how they did it, then it's because they know that this next signal is what gets them advanced before positions are even available. So, a common but often overlooked barrier to career advancement is the prioritization of likability over respect. Many professionals operate with an internal narrative of, I don't want to upset anyone, believing that maintaining harmony, avoiding conflict, and being universally agreeable will position them as team players and, by extension, prime candidates for leadership. But in reality, this mindset will limit your career more than it's going to advance it. The thing is, leadership is not a popularity contest. While interpersonal skills and collaboration are indeed important, consistently prioritizing being liked over being respected may lead others to view you as non confrontational, indecisive, or unwilling to take ownership of tough decisions. These are not qualities that typically signal readiness for leadership. So that means the mindset shift you need to understand is being agreeable is not synonymous with being promotable. Promotions are often given to those who demonstrate clear judgment, communicate with confidence, and can navigate ambiguity whilst maintaining authority, even when it means delivering hard truths or making unpopular decisions. So, if you want to actually signal that you're leadership ready, then you need to cultivate a combination of clarity in communication, the ability to set and uphold boundaries, and projecting authority without aggression. When you stop striving to be liked by everyone and start focusing on being trusted, respected, and listened to, then that's when leadership starts to take you seriously. Signal number 6. Okay, so this next one is really simple one, but it's something that, unless corrected, is going to make even the most senior level employee look very junior, and it's this. So have you ever received negative feedback on something that you put a lot of effort into at work, and it kind of feels like a trap, right? Because you either defend it and risk being seen as difficult, or you accept it and risk looking weak or incompetent. Well, that's a dilemma that only junior employees seem to wrestle with because their identity is tied to their output. So any criticism feels personal, like an attack on them and not just the work. But here's what leadership level professionals understand: your reputation matters more than that report, which means leaders welcome feedback. In fact, they seek it out because They see it as leverage to get sharper, faster, and more trusted. They know that feedback doesn't threaten your value, it amplifies it. And that's the mindset shift number 6. You stop tying your worth to your work and start tying it to the value that you represent. Because leadership isn't looking for perfection, it's looking for people who can grow. So stop guarding your work like it defines you and start using feedback to prove that you're ready for more. But here's the part that no one's going to warn you about. Even if you do shift your mindset, you might still get passed over for promotions because promotions aren't just about performance. They follow unfair and unwritten rules, rules most people don't even know exist. So, if you want to understand how the system really works and how to play it to your advantage, then watch this video next, where I break down 3 leadership secrets about why the rules are intentionally made unfair and how you can navigate around them.